You.
Andy, I tell you, this is what happens when we bring things up on the podcast. Like shit actually happens, like
Right.
it works. So we've been talking about QBH and her motion to vacate and how people are calling her stupid and she's an idiot and all these other things. All true, right? All fair.
Yeah.
Apparently she's had a talk with the godlike figure, the orange, the man on the orange throne, Trump himself, and I guess now she's backing off a little bit. Well, we just want our things to be heard from. We just want our voices to be heard. I mean, I guess she's gone in with a couple demands. So here, let's give you an idea of what some of those demands are. Don't bring a bill to the floor unless the majority of Republicans are going to go with it. Uh, okay. And then the other one is, make sure you work on lowering the budget and make sure we get after those FBI, DOJ guys who are launching all of these attacks and investigations against our dear leader. So, I don't know. I don't know, Andy. I think when we say something on this podcast, things generally happen. Hopefully, QBH will be on the sideline for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say we're oracles, Dave. I just think we feel the vibe of America. You know what I mean? We feel it and we can interpret it and we can speak to it. So it's just it's why listeners are here, Dave. It's why they're here.
They are, and they're here today. They may hear some dogs in the background, Andy. I just can't control them early in this morning. And again, I think I told you my son dropped his dog off and then promptly left. And so now I have to, the dog is great, wonderful, just a little bit more youthful than our
Yes.
old dog. And so it just makes for some fun times around the house. So there may be some dog wrestling in the background, Andy, but I'm committed to the pod. We're here today and we'll go from there. So,
I appreciate your dedication. America,
okay.
appreciate your dedication.
Yeah. So, Andy, let's talk again. Let's stay on the topic of our orange leader here. Have you been following the Trump trial at all?
I mean, I'm following like I follow the UFL. I'm aware that it's happening. I see the scores. I'm not really watching the games.
Yeah, you'll see the rock plug every so often about
Right.
the NFL. It seems to be doing okay. Spring football is alive in some parts of this country. So, yeah, it's been interesting. Earlier this week, look, I mean, Trump likes to talk. He likes to talk a lot on his social platform that is now tanked. If you had bought Trump media back when the IPO was released and you thought you were going to go straight up to the moon, you're failing there, Andy. But he likes to talk on his social media platforms, and he likes to talk about the jurors, and he likes to talk about the judge, and he likes to talk about the prosecution, all things that are generally not allowed. Somehow he's allowed to keep doing those things.
And in all caps, just in all
It,
caps.
all caps too. That's important. All caps, and sometimes with grammatical errors. But the judge finally put the laid down what we think is might be the hammer. Listen, if you continue to violate this gag order, you're going to jail. And now Trump has come back and said, "Throw me in jail. I'll go gladly go to jail." But what are your thoughts when you see this? This is again to your bit on Monday. He's telling us who he is, Andy. He's
Yeah.
telling us who he is.
Yeah. I mean, what's frustrating is the way that this gets interpreted by many, right? I mean, there are rules, and rules have to apply, in this country, whether you're, the lowest of the low or the highest of the high. That's the way it is. And so, Mr. Trump, like many others with power and influence and wealth, feels like the rules don't have to apply to him. Like I get it, there's rules for the common person, but they don't apply to me, and I can do what I want. The judge has a tricky position of trying to enforce the rules, maintain order and discipline in a legal proceeding, and then deal with the blowback of trying to enforce those rules, where Trump takes it as, oh, bias, unfair trial, unfair judge, this is a sham, all this kind of stuff, which in some cases maybe he can make that argument. Maybe in some cases, like you try and argue that it's a liberal state or whatever it is. But the judge is trying to enforce the rules here, right? And Trump does not want to follow them. and wants to play this martyr role, like, I'll go to jail, I'll gladly do that, I'll take that sacrifice. It's not a sacrifice. Like, you can't break the rules, and if you break the rules, you do have to go to jail. But the judge is the unenviable position of him to decide, do I actually put this former president of the United States of America, this current nominee to be president of the United States of America, in jail, right, and just risk all the political blowback that that brings, or let him run wild, which is not right. I mean, and Trump uses that. I don't know if he's cognizantly thinking through it, or just he's so full of himself and so arrogant, like others, that he thinks I don't have to follow the rules and I can do whatever I want. I think it's a mix of both. Like, he wants to politicize it and he doesn't think the rules apply to him. That's terrible. Like I said, that tells us who he is, right? It's very dangerous for anybody to think that way, especially someone when elected to the White House. But it's frustrating when his supporters buy into that and sort of rally, well, like, hey, it's not right, the judge is out to get him. It's not about being out to get him. Like, just follow the damn rules. Like, behave yourself reasonably. Shut up during the trial, right? You shut your mouth when you're talking to me, Dave Pounder, right? To steal from one of the greatest movie lines of all time from The Wedding Crashers. You shut your mouth when you're talking to me. And he talks way too much, and he all caps way too much, and it's not right.
Yeah, I'm pained every time I see this stuff come up, and I'm pained just to continue to listen to the people they pull out of the crowd who look. I think what is not being reported is like the people who are outside the courthouse waving the flags, waving the paraphernalia. I mean, it's the cult of personality, right?
Yeah.
This is what we've become, and for this particular thing, I found an interesting. Um, I guess there's some discussion ongoing about whether this is a true flash in the pan. Is Trump just a 8-year run, or I guess it could be a 12-year run?
Yeah.
Um, and really, there's like you had been mentioning on last earlier is whether there's any longevity to this part of the is this what the Republican Party has become, or is this just the cult of one person who's cannibalized a weakened party and made it into something else? I don't know. So we'll see how this continues to play out. Um, Again, I think also generationally, it's going to continue to play out in as the boomer generation kind of continues to fade away, and the younger generation continues to have more of a voice. Is this the type of thing that they're going to want to see? My guess is no,
Yeah.
uh, but maybe we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Any other thoughts on Trump mania, Andy? I tend not to like it because it causes me heartburn, but.
Yeah, no, I just say his insistence on being a martyr is just, and then others, having the audacity to compare him to Jesus Christ just blows my mind. It just absolutely blows my mind. But like you said, it's all transparently saying this is exactly who I am, love me or hate me, and America's gonna have to decide that.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, all right, Andy, let's move a little to pop culture. We haven't talked movies a whole lot. Planet of the Apes is coming up this weekend. Are you going?
So I'm waiting, Dave, because I want to have my entire family together so they can all be subject to my enthusiasm for this movie. So this is one that I've got to see on opening night. There are these movies you've got to see on opening night, and I'm a dork for buying tickets like first breaking light, that I can get them. This one I don't think there's going to be sellout crowds. Don't think I have that urgency, but I'm waiting for my oldest son to come home, I think, so I can take my whole family and be like, hey, appreciate the awesomeness of Planet of the Apes.
I went back and looked at it because you failed, but you tried to convince me that this I should go back and watch these movies. And it's been a very successful run. These have not
Yeah.
been like dud movies. They have been all opened very well, and they've all performed very well. And the tracking for this one seems to be it's going to have a good opening weekend. Especially last weekend we had um, the Fall Guy, and that underperformed a little bit. But it should be interesting to see how this goes out. The one of the Apes movies was on last night, and I tried, Andy. I did try to watch it. I couldn't get past it. I think caught one of the guys named Caesar, one of the apes,
Yeah.
Caesar.
Yeah.
I think he's the bad guy, right? Is it or
He's not a bad guy, Dave. He's just got his own interpretation of things.
oh, okay.
They're
All
they're
right.
hurt. They're hurt. So you couldn't get into it. You couldn't buy in.
I couldn't buy in. I tried, and then I moved on to like a Star Wars thing, and then I went. The Star Wars has this Tales of the Empire, a couple like a short series on Disney Plus. I dug into that a little bit. But speaking of Disney Plus, Andy, see how I transition there.
That's
There's
nice. Yeah, sweet.
Marvel, Andy. Marvel's another big thing,
Yeah,
and Endgame, we're gonna go nerd on a little bit of the Marvel stuff, guys. So if you don't want to listen to that, fast forward maybe about 10 minutes or something. You catch us at the end. But Andy, Endgame was probably one of the pinnacle events for so many people. It was
yeah,
a masterpiece of a cinematic experience. It wrapped up a ton of storylines and what we thought was going to kick off a new wave of superheroes. Like it was clear everybody wanted more, more, more. Um, Endgame, while it was really good, I didn't enjoy it as much as the other ones. There's other movies that I preferred over that one. I thought it was a little dry in the middle, but the culmination of that movie was spectacular. Um, so what Marvel did then is they said, "Hey, look, we're losing Captain America, we're losing Iron Man, we're losing Thor for all intents and purposes. We're losing some of these guys who have carried us through this first part of Marvel, and now we're going to transition to a new part, maybe get into a little bit deeper characters." So they rushed out, they were focusing on those sub characters a little
yeah,
bit less or a little bit more. So they rolled out a ton of TV shows. They rolled out a couple new movies, and they've all slowly declined. Well, this week, Bob Iger, the head of Disney, has come out and said, "Hey, look, we're scaling back. Um, we're going from what was 4 movies a year to down to 2, maybe 3 movies a year. We're going from a couple TV shows a year to 2 TV shows a year. That still seems like a lot,
yeah.
considering that the stuff they've put out since then. Again, I thought the best one was Wanda. Like Wanda was a really good one, and Loki. Those were good TV shows. But then you had a lot of other things like the Miss Marvel. You had Secret Wars. You had a lot of other things in there that just never connected with anybody. And I think we forget like Robert Downey Jr., great actor, Chris Evans, great actor, Hemsworth, great actor. The people went mostly because they embodied great. Like Iron Man was not a huge Marvel character necessarily, but Robert Downey Jr. made him. His personality brought him out. So I'm just going on and on here, Andy. What do you think about this transition now to maybe less content but better content?
Yeah, I think it's necessary. I mean, the last few movies have not done nearly as well. I mean, the storyline, like we talked about before, has gotten too complex, right? People can't just go and enjoy a movie. They've got to sort of take in, the entire saga, which is a lot for someone to go enjoy a couple hours of a movie. They're long, and they haven't really been good. People aren't getting excited about them, and it's been a big letdown since Endgame. I mean, that was a great build up. People were super excited. Like I said, great actors, great characters. I would argue Iron Man's a pretty significant character in the Marvel universe. I think that it was a good call doing it. But right now they're really struggling. Even the stuff that's on deck, like while they're going to try and slow down a little bit, I don't know they've got the characters and the stories that people care about. I mean, some of these sort of one-offs. You look at the Eternals, right? The Eternals was terrible. I mean, it was a terrible movie. They brought in a lot of big name actors, right? You had Angelina Jolie. You had guys from Game of Thrones. I mean, you'd well recognize people all around, and it just wasn't a good movie. And I think that's been the problem, that they're producing things that just aren't good. Like nobody wants to watch them, aren't enjoying them. So slowing down is great, but you still got to figure out like how do I make these movies really appealing. I think the new Captain America might be interesting. I think people like the current Captain America character. I think people like the sidekick in Winter Soldier. I think that's kind of fun. It's not going to draw, I don't think, the same level of enthusiasm as the old Captain America runs did, just because that's the one that people knew the most. This new one's a little bit more of the remake of Captain America, which I think it works well, and I like the actors and the characters, but broadly, it's not what people know and love. So it's just going to be different. They've got to figure it out. But slowing down is probably good. People are a little burnout, underwhelmed. They've really got to crack the code. Fantastic Four needs to be great. Like that has to really be a home run. or they're going to continue to struggle. And the unfortunate thing, I was just talking about this with one of my sons yesterday. It's unfortunate because there's a lot of opportunity there. They've still got some great characters and actors, young ones too, but they haven't just brought it together in a useful, meaningful way. It's really been a bit of a flop. So, and I understand the whole Kang storyline kind of threw things off with, Jonathan Major's unfortunate, arrest, and that kind of threw things a little bit off. But they've got to figure it out. I think it's a good call to slow down, but hey, make quality movies and shows.
Well, that's the thing is like if you go back, I mean, there was a lot of failed superhero movies for a long time.
Yeah.
You remember the Incredible Hulk movies? I mean, they weren't exactly blockbusters, and I think they overthought it too much. Like, look, the Thor was good as an independent movie, and then they pulled it together for the Avengers movies. I think it was great. When you start overcomplicating the storylines, it gets really tough. And there we go. There we go.
Dogs run wild, Dave. Dogs running wild.
Dogs running wild. A little. I don't know if it was a leaf that fell outside that spurred them up or what. Something happened. But there we go with the dog thing. Oh, Andy, let me run through what they're planning for 2025, and you tell me what you're interested in seeing. So, Captain America: Brave New World, Blade, Thunderbolts, and Fantastic Four. You already said Fantastic Four. It has to be good, and
Yeah.
I agree. Like they've been dorking around with that franchise for years. I liked the original Fantastic Four, the first one that came out, and then we had the Silver Surfer one, and then it just went away. I thought that was pretty decent, but that was before all the Marvel stuff came out and they really took it to another level. You liked the Michael B. Jordan one.
Yeah.
I didn't particularly care for that one, but yeah, this one needs to be good. But you have dead. So looking at that, Captain America: Brave New World. Are you gonna go see that one?
I'll definitely see it. I'd like to see it at the theater. I might see it at home.
Yeah.
I think it'll be good.
Okay, what about Blade?
I, Nothing about vampires ever gets me excited. I didn't care about the original Blade movie. Didn't care about the whole comic character. Nothing about vampires gets me excited. I'll maybe watch it if I'm bored one night.
I liked the first Blade, but then they did two more, and I was not particularly impressed with it. I liked the first one, but I'm generally not a vampire person either, so good on that one.
Yeah.
Thunderbolts. Do you even know what Thunderbolts is, Andy?
Yeah, I've got a vague understanding of the storyline. I didn't know it in the comics. Wasn't something I paid attention to. I don't think people are going to care. I think my guess is that this will be Eternals-ish in people's enthusiasm and underwhelming.
Yeah, I think for the really hardcore nerds, they want to see this movie, but that hardcore nerds isn't going to come to the theaters in droves.
Yeah.
And again, what I worry about this is like this is a backstory type of group, and they're going to try to make it into like I worry that now we'll start seeing Thunderbolt stuff in various other parts of
Yeah.
movies, and then you're going to have to watch those movies to know and that interconnected stuff. I already ranted about how I hated Star Wars doing that. I'm not a big fan of Marvel doing it either. Okay, and the last one then, Andy, is then Fantastic Four. I think we both want to see this one.
Yeah.
I would probably like to see it in the theater. There's too much drama around who they're selecting for this and that. Just fucking make the movie at this point.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Doctor Doom, awesome bad guy, just
Yeah.
do well, right? Have fun with it. Have some fun one-liners in there. Don't make it look terrible with the CGI. You've got a good crew. Just execute. So I'm confident. I feel confident that they'll get it right. I believe. But Dave, worth noting, another observation my son and I had. Chris Evans played the Human Torch. Went on to be like sexiest man of the year. Michael B. Jordan played Human Torch. Went on to be sexiest man of the year. So while the Fantastic Four movies generally suck and nobody cares about the Human Torch, if you're cast as the Human Torch, indicators are you've got a nice future as being like one of America's, hunks. So just saying, that's something to be excited about if you're the actor playing the Human Torch.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's always a fun.
You should be the Human Torch, Dave. I think
I,
America
I
needs
should.
you.
I love the flame on. Let's go flame on. And do that. So, okay, Andy, and so I think this good discussion there. We do have some good things. We do have Wolverine and
Deadpool.
Deadpool and Wolverine coming out in a couple weeks. That's going to be exciting. So we'll definitely have to talk about that one. I love these two characters independently,
Yeah,
and then I love how they off the screen, both Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds are really they're really playing into this, and they
yeah,
both do a great job here on that front. So we have that. We also have House of Dragon, Andy, coming up, and then we have, of course, Star Wars: The Acolyte part. I'm really excited about. I hope they don't fuck that one up. So,
yeah,
but you never know. I think it's just this idea that like we'll just keep throwing content out there and people will buy this shit. I
yeah.
think it gets a little old after a little while. Like fucking put out good stuff. Don't just keep thinking you're gonna put it out and you're gonna suck me dry on stuff. It's okay. I'm going off on it, Andy. I was gonna maybe do this on Friday as a solo pod, but I'm gonna do it anyways. Are you following any of the NBA like rights things?
No, I'm following the playoffs a little bit, but not the rights.
So the media rights are up, and this is important because as if, the NBA can sell their product,
Yeah,
they will then at higher price. That means player salaries are going to go up, and so there's a lot of benefit for a lot of things. NBA players are starting to make 60 to 70 million dollars a season on stuff. They deserve all of it, especially when you have the owners pocketing a lot of stuff as well. These players deserve to make as much money as they can. But the media rights, the media numbers are down, yet the media rights continue to go up at astronomical levels. And now it used to be, for football, you used to have, hey, there were two broadcast channels and then that was it.
yeah,
Now there's a piece of Amazon on Thursdays, there's Peacock games, there's ESPN Monday night games, and then you still have ABC or CBS and NBC doing or Fox doing certain games and
yeah,
NBC on. It's hard to find where the games are always going to be anymore. NBA is in a similar thing. Now they're going to start breaking up these things because they can sell these games for an astronomical amount of money, especially when it comes to playoff time. And the viewership is down,
yeah.
prices continue to go up, and at what point does the consumer get a say here and say, look, because you're paying you like whether or not you know it, you're paying for it in the higher cable prices, higher streaming packages, more streaming packages. If you want to see the NBA, you're going to have 4 or 5 different
Yeah.
streaming channels. I think it just gets a little bit ridiculous at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like it with the NFL. I don't like having to hunt for games to be able to watch what I want to watch and have to skip some games. I don't think it's great for the consumer, but I think, it comes back down to, what will the consumer take? I mean, if like I did buy certain streaming services or purchase certain streaming services so I could watch a game. So I've got the appetite and the willingness to spend so much money to watch, my favorite sport. I haven't watched a pro basketball game in years. I mean, I don't watch it, and I think that's part of why is the way that it's distributed. So, like I said, I think I'm all for players making as much money as they can. I have no issue with the leagues, the associations trying to find ways to make revenue. It's up to us, the fans, to decide what we're willing to put up with. And again, like I'm willing to pay ridiculous ticket prices to go watch a Lions game every season. As long as we're willing to do it, we're going to keep feeding the beast. And when we get to a point where like, hey, I'm not going to do it anymore, then they have to adjust. So I think it's frustrating, but it's the process. We choose to vote every time we make a purchase or not, and that's our decision. So like you said, if NBA viewership is down, eventually there's a balance that has to be hit, right? They have to figure out how do we retain viewers and still sell merch and get everybody the money they're looking for. It's a balancing act, and I think as long as it's open, and we can choose to view or not view how we want, like I'm fine with it. We support, we want to support. That's why not all leagues will survive. That's why it's been so hard to get, a second viable football league because people just aren't willing to go and spend more money on those other sports, other leagues, other opportunities. So it's a balancing act, but as long as we the suckers are willing to pay, I'm fine with them seeing how far they can take us down there. Just like with Marvel and streaming services and all that too. I mean, it's all a complex mess, but that's the environment we're in today until there's a better balance figured out.
Yeah, I think that I was just going to tie it back into the Marvel stuff. At some point, there's diminishing return, right? You're going to saturate with so much, or the prices are going to be so much, and the product is not going to be as good.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you really struggle. Now, like these sports leagues have benefited because there's been one person who's generally risen above and now is like can carry the face of the league. Oh, I've got to see LeBron James. I got to see Michael Jordan. Now I've got to see Anthony Edwards. He's blowing up the NBA right now, and he's so brash and young, and he says things in post game interviews that you're like, this is awesome. This guy is just he's loving every minute of it. And so they've had that face to carry them through some of these pieces. So it's been um yeah, I guess it's just up to the consumer. At what point are you done subscribing to that second tier channel just so that you can watch one or two NBA games every couple weeks or so. So all fun stuff there, Andy. It was a top of mind topic. It was a top of mind. I was just thinking about it. So
So Dave, I've got to ask you. You mentioned Anthony Edwards. So over the years, there have been people that have asked about, is Michael Jordan the father of this guy or that guy? I don't know if you heard of, more recently that question's come up in relation to Anthony Edwards, right? You've got this young, dynamic player doing really well in the league right now, or doing really well in the NBA. People really like him, and people have stopped. And have you seen these side by side comparisons of Anthony Edwards and Michael Jordan?
it's pretty crazy. And like even some of like his moves on the court are you're like, this is crazy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So not making any allegations here, and don't particularly care, but it is. I mean, the side by side, the half-faced image of those two, blended together. You're like, this is the same guy. This is the same guy. So, if you've seen the Michael Jordan, docu-series on Netflix, his known children don't play in the NBA, so I don't know the full story there, but it doesn't seem like they picked up dad's interest and excitement and enthusiasm. But there are a couple of guys floating around, the NBA right now that have uncertain origins, I think, and certainly resemble, the legend in many ways on their both appearance and skill set. Just interesting to see. But yeah, the side by side is crazy. The side by side is crazy.
yeah, this kid is like really good. I'll
Really?
remember a couple years ago when they were having the draft, and he was drafted number one, so ultimately Minnesota took it. But there was a lot of discussion about whether James Wiseman should be the number one pick. James Wiseman's going to be out of the league in 2 years. LaMelo Ball was the third pick. I mean,
LaMelo.
he's been injured so many times. He's barely playing here in Charlotte.
Yeah,
And this guy he's so like got such a youthful energy and he loves playing the game and like he doesn't care he's going up against the defending champions and he does not care and he's
yeah.
just throwing it down and look if they win the NBA title this year and they've still got to go through there's still a lot more to do here but if they win it's going to be impressive.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's fun to see. I love seeing young talent get in there and shake things up and break expectations and the idea of just not I don't care who it is, I don't care who I'm playing, bring on LeBron, bring on whoever, I'm here to win. Like I love that. I love seeing the young NFL players, the sauces in the league and others are just like, hey, I'm here to be who I am and be the best. Like I love seeing that play. It's fun to see in the NBA.
Yeah, it certainly is. So with that, Andy, we'll wrap up for today. Um, where are you going on Friday? Why am I solo again?
If you're so, because I'm going down to my eldest's college graduation, so we're gonna go celebrate his completion of that major milestone, and I'm gonna abandon you once more.
Well, good. Congratulations to your son. And is he going to be with you this summer? Or is he going to be like, is he venturing off on a new career? What's he do? Well, we can talk about that later.
Yeah,
So,
let's save for the future pod. We'll save for the future pod. We'll see
okay.
we'll see where things go.
Well, congratulations to young Jabor. It's exciting news, and I'm sure you're a proud papa, and I'm sure Mama is also proud. So, with that, Andy, we will catch up with you next time.